Welcome to this explainer on modern telecommunications. Today, we're going to completely demystify the invisible engine that powers modern civilization. Real quick before we jump in, this explainer is drawn specifically from Chapter 7 of the massive 15-part Modern Telecommunications tutorial by Virtualization Options LLC. They're an amazing Colorado-based technology, research, education, and advisory organization, and we're zeroing in entirely on their insights from Chapter 7 today.
So let's dive right into this by asking one really foundational question. How exactly did we go from Samuel Morse's isolated copper telegraphs in the 1840s to the highly converged, massively complex cloud-native networks that we're all using today? Because, it's not just a story of things getting faster. It's actually a fascinating story of massive architectural shifts that fundamentally rewired our entire world.
To make sense of all this, we're going to map out this great convergence across 5 crucial evolutionary leaps: foundations of connectivity, the digital shift, rise of IP networks, fixed and mobile convergence, and finally, cloud and autonomous futures. Okay, let's kick things off with our first leap, foundations of connectivity. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at one incredibly important number: 8,000 samples per second. Under the Nyquist-Shannon sampling theorem, to perfectly reconstruct an analog signal into a digital one, you absolutely have to sample it at twice its highest frequency. Now, since human voice maxes out around 3,400 hertz, engineers made the totally logical choice to use 8,000 samples per second to capture it cleanly. That single mathematical decision laid down the baseline capacity for all digital telephony that followed, and it literally still influences network architecture today. And that brings us to exactly why the industry had to ditch its analog legacy. Think about it. Analog degrades continuously. Every time you try to boost the signal across a long distance to keep it alive, you're also boosting all the accumulated background noise along with it. It's exactly like photocopying a photocopy. It just gets blurrier and messier every single time you do it. Digital signals, on the other hand, are just vastly superior for long-haul networks. The repeaters don't blindly amplify. They actually perfectly regenerate the simple binary states, just clean, distinct ones and zeros, without compounding any of that static. Moving right along to our second leap, the digital shift, from analog to digital. Now, once everything went digital, the whole architectural hierarchy of these networks had to be standardized. Otherwise, hardware and software from totally different vendors wouldn't even be able to understand each other. To manage this crazy new complexity, engineers built a OSI reference model. And while the full thing has 7 layers, these vital bottom 4 give us this indispensable universal vocabulary. So you start with troubleshooting raw fiber optics and radio waves down at layer 1, the physical layer. Then you move up to managing local Ethernet frames and MAC addresses at layer 2, the data link layer. Right above that, we're routing IP traffic globally at layer 3, the network layer. And finally, you ensure reliable application delivery with TCP and UDP protocols at layer 4, the transport layer. So, for decades, the public switched telephone network ran on circuit switching. You had a dedicated, guaranteed path for your call from point A to point B. And sure, it was highly reliable, but it was incredibly wasteful. That path stayed fully reserved even during dead silence, which, if you think about it, is roughly half of a normal phone conversation. That dedicated model just couldn't scale for modern data. I mean, downloading a web page or sending an email happens in these really quick, intense bursts, not continuous streams. So that inefficiency totally paved the way for dynamic, packet-switched IP networks that are perfectly suited for bursty data. Which naturally leads us into leap number 3, the rise of IP networks, or the Internet era. This shift radically changed the fundamental economic engine of telecommunications. You probably remember internet speeds getting kind of sluggish globally during the COVID-19 lockdowns, right? Well, that is precisely because IP networks use something called statistical multiplexing. Instead of giving everyone fixed time slots or dedicated lines, bandwidth is allocated dynamically based on demand. It is exactly like airlines overbooking their flights, banking on the fact that, hey, not everyone is actually going to show up at the gate. Internet service providers routinely oversubscribe their access links by ratios of 20 to 1, sometimes even higher. The whole system completely relies on the statistical improbability of simultaneous peak usage from every single customer. And of course, this incredible packet-switched efficiency ended up totally disrupting traditional telephony as well. Voice over IP took the human voice, digitized it, and just sent it out as standard data packets, no different than an email. This was a massive deal because those huge, expensive, room-sized hardware switchboards suddenly obsolete. They got replaced by IPPBX software running right on standard enterprise IT servers, literally sharing the exact same physical infrastructure as regular company data. Telephones effectively just became another IT application. All right, on to leap number 4, fixed and mobile convergence, network convergence. This is where the traditional walls between your fixed office network and your cellular provider just completely collapse. Have you ever wondered why older smartphones had that agonizing 3 to 8 second delay before a call actually rang? It's because early 4G networks were data only. When a call came in, your phone had to awkwardly drop its data connection and fall backward to older 3G circuits just to ring the voice call. Fortunately, that super clunky process got solved by VoLTE, Voice over LTE, and eventually 5G's pure packet-switched architecture, which integrated voice seamlessly into the data stream from end to end. The ultimate vision here is what we call next-generation networks. And the absolute core takeaway for this concept, it is the decoupling of the service from the transport. By using the IP Multimedia System, or IMS, session control is totally centralized in a technology-agnostic core. That's the invisible magic that lets you start a video call on your office Wi-Fi, walk straight out the front door, and seamlessly roam onto a cellular 5G network without the call dropping or even stuttering. The service literally no longer cares how the bits are physically transported. And finally, we hit leap number 5, cloud and autonomous futures. The future. So, zooming into the present day, telecommunications and cloud computing haven't just met up, they have fundamentally fused together into a single global brain. Today, hyperscale cloud providers are actually massive global network operators themselves. And on the flip side, traditional telecoms are becoming cloud providers in their own right. They're systematically tearing down these rigid legacy hardware silos and swapping them out for elastic, secure, fully virtualized software environments. The network itself is basically a massive distributed software application now that scales up or down instantly based on user demand. To handle all this immense software-defined complexity, human reaction times just aren't going to cut it anymore. You can't have engineers furiously typing command lines during a massive traffic spike. Modern networks utilize intent-based closed-loop automation. The AI seamlessly loops through monitoring network telemetry, analyzing that data against learned machine learning models, planning the optimal routing actions, and instantly executing those changes at millisecond speeds. It predicts congestion, it heals the network around severed cables, and it optimizes traffic flow, all without a single human intervention required for routine events. It's absolutely wild. So what does this actually mean for IT pros managing this converged infrastructure today? Well, the Chapter 7 source material makes it crystal clear. The required skill sets have completely shifted. You have to adapt continuously. Learning has to be a permanent career habit now, not just a one-time event. And even more importantly, you have to think in systems. You can't just be the router person or the server person anymore. You really need to understand how the radio physics, the cloud software architecture, the zero-trust security policies, and the business economics all interact across this entire converged stack. Which brings us to our final thought for today. Seeing how we've evolved from Samuel Morse's isolated copper telegraph wires all the way to a highly programmable global nervous system, what role are you going to play in shaping the autonomous networks of the future? We are standing right on the edge of AI-native 6G-driven networks where the physical and digital worlds completely merge together. The possibilities are absolutely endless. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.